So I just wanted to say my name is Jody Leon. My mom is Rosalind Leon, and I also come from, on my father's side, the Carrier Nation of the Frog Clan. I wanted to say, just as a preliminary thing, that I guess my first thoughts are, because I don't have all the information about this proposed legislation, is that I guess from first blush, it seems like it's a business as usual act. And I say that because there seems to be a lot of without prejudice and non-derogation language that doesn't deal with the determination of Aboriginal rights. And I think that's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because they're not defining anything, you know, for the future litigation that might occur. The bad thing is that there is no resolution to it. So I guess by saying that the Act is only dealing with resources and economics, and not really seeming to determine, you know, anything about Aboriginal rights or title. There's nothing, I mean, and having said that, I haven't seen the draft legislation, so I'd be curious to see the RFL for that. And I also wanted to make the point that with respect to motivation, if this legislation does get passed, if the province is able to get us to buy into this, you know, as all of the nations around BC, into legislating these shared agreements through this act, would this not make the province and federals lose motivation to resolve the land question? They won't have to, because through this act they get what they want. They get agreement for access to the resources. The second point I wanted to make was with relation to the scope. I wanted to ask if the act will create what's considered in law as a public body when it creates a Council of Indigenous Nations through the act. And I asked that because I had a look at the Crown Proceeding Act and the Attorney General Act this morning, just in thinking kind of about Arthur's points. And I wanted to find out that, because if the issues are then, you know, through those acts, it seems to me that they would be limited, you know, in their ability to be litigated or resolved, because you would then have to look, you know, to those two other statutes, you know, which give the Attorney General the voice over future changes to the legislation through the Legislative Council. It also gives the Attorney General and Solicitor General ownership over the legislation, that they can amend it. And there's no guarantee that they can consult about those future changes to legislation. So those are just a few points I wanted to make. I also wanted to find out, you know, as members, you know, of the community, if we could get a copy of that RFL that was given, you know, for the legislation. Also a copy of the research that was done by John Burroughs, you know, and the other constitutional scholars that deals with the Section 35 question, consideration and protection of those rights in the legislation. I'd be interested in finding out about that. And also if copies of the draft legislation would be given to people. So those are my questions.